So, point 2, if you argue that these gaps must be filled by a supernatural entity of some kind that reaches into our world and tweaks it somehow, and you base that argument on these kinds of empirical observations of DNA is too complex to have evolved or whatever, and therefore it requires a super complex entity, being or whatever, to do that, then it would be natural to ask, well, who created that intelligent designer, or God, or whoever? Any being capable of designing particles and atoms, molecules, DNA, protein chains, cells, and so forth cannot be simple. It has to be complex. And therefore, by the same set of arguments that theists use, and intelligent design creationists use, they must also come up with something like that for the creator of the intelligent designer, or the creator of God. Well, the theist says, no, God is that which does not need to be created. Well, wait, why not? If you're going to make a series of arguments about everything needs an explanation, a causal explanation, why stop the causal chain just at the particular place you want to, with the deity that you just happen to be raised with? So there is that cultural element, which is my third point, that there is positive evidence. Okay, first, minor point. I can't prove a negative. I can't prove there is no God. In the same way, I can't prove there's no Bigfoot. One might turn up someday. I can't prove there's no Isis, Zeus, Apollo, Brahma, Ganesha, Mithras, Allah, Yahweh, or even the flying spaghetti monster, for that matter. But that doesn't mean it exists. The fact that I can't prove there's no flying spaghetti monster doesn't make the flying spaghetti monster real. In the same way that I can't disprove the existence of a deity, neither can you prove the existence of a deity. What we can show, however, is that there is positive evidence in favor of the idea that God and religions are human-made. Over the last 10,000 years, there have been roughly 10,000 different religions and 1,000 different gods, just as an order of magnitude approximation. What's the probability that Yahweh is the one true God, and Amun, Ra, Aphrodite, Apollo, Baal, Brahma, Ganesha, Isis, Mithras, Osiris, Shiva, Thor, Vishnu, Wotan, Zeus, and the other 986 gods are all false gods? Well, if you happen to be born in the United States in the 20th century, you're likely to believe in Yahweh. If you happen to be born in India and you're to Hindu parents, you're likely to believe in Brahman and Ganesha. So much of what people believe about religion depends on where they just happen to be born, who their parents happen to be. So that gives us a clue that there are cultural, historical, psychological reasons for belief that have nothing to do with what's actually out there. Fourth point, or 3.5, or wherever we are on the list here. The argument is often made that the universe is fine-tuned. You'll get this from the intelligent design creationists, that the structure of the universe, the atoms, molecules, DNA, and so forth, could not have come about through a bottom-up natural process. Therefore, there must be a top-down tinkerer.
2 minutes, Michael.
Thank you. Well, again, back to then how do you get to the original designer in the first place? Let's say we found out that DNA was designed by an intelligent designer from, I don't know, let's say the planet Vega. I'm pretty sure there's aliens there because I saw it on Star Trek once. Anyway, let's just pretend that that's the case, and they've planted a pod, let's say on the moon, with the instructions of how they made DNA and planted it here, and that's what got life started. That's our intelligent designer. It's an extraterrestrial of great power. That wouldn't answer the question of the origins of life. It would just push it off to one more planet. There would still have to be an explanation from the bottom up of a natural process that created the designer, and that would apply to all of that. As for what are the chances of all this happening here, well, pretty dang good, actually. If you consider the fact that there's 100 billion stars in our galaxy alone and 100 billion galaxies, if only 1 out of 10 stars have planets, and now it looks like more like half, but be conservative, 1 out of 10 stars have planets. That's 10 billion planets in our galaxy times 100 billion galaxies. That's 1 sextillion of planets. That is to say, that's a 1 followed by 16 zeros of the number of planets that there would be. It would be a miracle if there weren't extraterrestrial life, if it hadn't just sort of popped up all over the place. Even though it doesn't matter how rare you think it is, the numbers are so huge, 100 billion times 100 billion, take only 1/10. The chances are pretty darn good that all of this will come out somewhere, and whoever happened to have developed enough complex life to give rise to intelligence and language and complex thought. Just like the lottery winner can't believe he won the lottery, whoever happens to evolve language and cognition can't believe he evolved language and cognition, and therefore imputes a top-down designer for it, when in fact there's good reasons to think that it may have all evolved from the bottom up. Thank you.
Dr. Michael Shermer.